Open cam, everybody. Great.
All right. So what I'm going to do tonight is kind of continue on what we left off with 2 weeks ago. So we kind of did an experiment, and we're going to do another experiment tonight. We looked at fermentation, right? So we're going to compare fermentation with another process that's similar to it tonight called aerobic respiration. So we're actually able to do both these processes. Fermentation is also called anaerobic respiration. So we did this experiment as a class 2 weeks ago. We looked at the different levels of or different concentrations of sugar and how the concentration of sugar will affect fermentation. So we have the A, B, and C flask. The A flask would be very similar to our 1% solution. The B flask would be similar to our 5% solution, and the C flask is similar to our 10% solution. And you can see as you go up in concentrations of sucrose or sugar, you increase fermentation. Okay. So again, our bodies are able to do this. We only do this when we can't get oxygen to our cells. So this is it's very rare. If you're doing like a very strenuous exercise, you need a lot of energy, you can't get the oxygen in your body quick enough, you can swap over and do anaerobic respiration, but it's not the best type of respiration. One is it doesn't make a lot of energy. So we can do it very quickly. So that's kind of a trade-off. You can do it very quickly. You make a lot. Compared to the other one. We don't make a lot of energy, roughly 2 ATP. Um, but again, this is something our body can do. What we would like to do, though, is this process called aerobic respiration. So when you see aerobic respiration, you can go ahead and the aero part. So aero equals air, in this case, oxygen. So this is when we breathe. This is the whole purpose why we breathe. Get oxygen in our body. It is a slow process. It does take 3 steps, glycolysis, citric acid cycle, electron transport chain, in order to get the final product of ATP. But doing this process, slowly breaking it down, we get a lot of ATP. So with fermentation, we roughly get about 2 ATP net total. So again, not very energy efficient. But if we are doing aerobic and there's oxygen present, we jump up that total to roughly 32 ATP. So you can see why it's more beneficial to use oxygen. We get a lot more energy from that. And you can actually tell how much energy you're producing by how fast you are breathing. So if you are have a slow breath or a slow breathing pace, you're not really in need of energy at the moment. So you don't really have to go through the process. But if you are breathing in very quickly and your breath or your breathing rate increases, that means you are in demand of energy. So you can kind of relate the process of breathing to how much energy your body is needing at the time. We're going to relate that back to the experiment we're going to do tonight. So this is the cellular respiration formula. It's a little different if you're looking at the fermentation. Again, since I see oxygen's present, I know that we're going to be doing aerobic respiration. Now, the go-to molecule that we use for our energy is C6H12O6, which is glucose, that is sugar, but it's not the only molecule we can use. If we have to, we can swap in fat for this process, we can swap in protein for this process, but it's much more beneficial if we have sugar present because sugar is easier to do. Now, when you take sugar and the oxygen in your body, you break that down with the respiration formula. We're going to give off carbon dioxide. So this when we exhale, we breathe out carbon dioxide. And we're also going to make a little bit of water. So you actually can see the water when you breathe. Like if it's really cold outside and you breathe and you can see your breath when you breathe, you're actually breathing out a lot of water vapor and you're getting that water vapor from this process here. And then of course, you're going to get your ATP, which is your energy. Remember your energy molecule? So this is the whole purpose of doing that. And this process goes back to your mitochondria. So remember your mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. The reason why we call it the powerhouse is because it is what is producing the energy for us. So what you're looking at That little guy right there, the jelly bean, that is my mitochondria. Now, inside there is where you're going to see this process happen. Since we are using the oxygen again, that means we are going to be using the mitochondria. When you go back to fermentation, so this process here, this process for fermentation does not use the mitochondria. This is why we don't make a lot of energy because we're not using the powerhouse to create that energy. That's only going to be used when oxygen is present. Okay, so again, I want to do another experiment tonight with y'all. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a physical activity and breathing rate. So we're going to measure our breaths at a resting state, and then we're going to do an activity, either walk, if you have stairs, walk up and down the stairs for like a minute. I'm gonna do push-ups, so I'm gonna get myself involved too. And we're gonna do that for 1 minute, and then we're going to measure our breath again. And we're going to do this for two trials. Again, the reason why we do two trials is the more data, the better off the more accurate the data will be, and then we'll take the average of that. Okay, so let me jump over here to Excel, make sure everybody's gonna get involved. And left, so Hani, Becca. Okay, so the very first part of this experiment is to measure our resting breath or our resting breaths. So I'm going to time this for 30 seconds. So when I say start, I just want you to breathe normally, and every time you breathe out, count that as one breath, okay? And then when I say time, you can enter your times inside the chats, okay? And then we can use I can use that as data. So we might take a couple tries to get this right, but so try not to force your breath to make it go naturally. So on count of three, we're going to start, okay? One, two, three. Okay, time. So everybody put your number in chat. Honey, did you count your breaths? No, could you count your breaths? I got yours, Daraka. Honey looks like she's asleep. Where'd my chat go? Okay, so we want breaths per minute. So we're actually going to double the numbers. So mine was 22. Daraka born double yours is 16. Honey, did you count your breaths? 7? Okay. We'll double that to 14. And then Nayaka, did you count your breaths?
What?
Did you count your breaths?
Uh,
Okay, you listening? This is also why we're doing two trials.
$21.
21, okay. Okay, end of null. You listening? Let me get you two in on this as well. So we're doing a little experiment, okay? I'm gonna put a timer on for 30 seconds. When I say start, I want you to just count your breath. So breathe normally. Every time you breathe out, count that as one, okay? And then when I say stop, put the number in the chat. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Put my timer up. Get set. One, two, three, start. Okay, stop. What's your numbers?
Like 7.
No 7. Enda, did you get one?
15,
How many?
15.
15? Okay. Okay, so again, these are our resting breaths. So what we're going to do next, we're going to do a physical activity. We can either stand up and you can walk in place. You can do jumping jacks. You can, again, if you have stairs, you can walk up and down the stairs one time. We're going to do this for 1 minute, okay? So come back in 1 minute. Again, get up and move. I want you up and moving. Come back in 1 minute. I'm going to do push-ups. Okay, we're back. Start counting. Okay. F50, Taraka, 65. Anybody else got theirs? See, we need Noel, Noel, 17. Naka, Inda. Is that for your 30-second Inda, or you do double that? Is that 25 breaths a minute or 25 breaths per 30 seconds? This is a little low. Hmm. Okay. Need to rest for a couple minutes, get the heart rate and breaths back down to normal. But while we wait, we can go ahead and look at some numbers. So everybody's numbers did increase, which is good. It should have increased if you're doing physical activity. We'll just sit here and breathe and rest for like another 2 minutes. Yeah, my heart rate's coming down, I can tell. So at 24 after, we'll do another resting rate. So 1 more minute. Okay. Everybody ready? Everybody getting ready? So this one is just resting, right? We want to breathe nice and regular. Don't force it. Try to breathe normally. So I'll count you down. Remember, every breath you breathe out is one. So 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, stop. So put your numbers in the chat. 2, 24. 18, no, 16. 10. And 16. And just remember, I'm doubling this because we want per minute, not for that we measure for 30 seconds. Honey, did you do one? Did I miss it? Is one even here? Okay. We'll do hers as normal. Okay. So again, we want to do a 1 minute activity. Get up, walk in place, stairs, but be moving around for 1 minute, okay? So let me reset my timer and start. Okay, minutes up. Count your breaths. Okay, stop. 7. You double yours, Rocco? No. And Noel. Is it Noel or Noel?
Is Noel.
Noel, okay. 21, 42. And Niyaka? 38. So we're looking at 64. 38. That's not double. That's 6. Good math. And I got 37. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we'll do the averages. What I'll do is I'll take these two columns, put them together. So this is our average breathing rate, our average resting rate. Yeah. And then we'll do our average physical rate. Then what I'll do, okay, well, we'll do this print screen. Maybe print screen. Oh, over here. Okay. Let me go back to my Excel. Okay. So some review questions. What happened to your breathing rate after exercise? So what trend do you say happened? Did it go up or down? Comparing everybody's resting rate to their physical activity rate, right? Would we say that it increased or decreased? To put it in the chat, maybe? Hang on. Too much stuff open. Anybody there? If you don't want to say it, you can put it in chat. Okay, increase. Thank you. Making sure I'm still here. Yeah, so we can see on average, everybody's breathing rate after physical activity, it all increased. Okay. So why did our breathing rate change? Or why did we have an increase in our breathing rate? Going back to what are we breathing in? Okay, so we did we you're correct. We had our body work out. Now, um, why exactly did the breathing increase for the workout though? So what are we having to breathe in? So we're breathing in air, right? What molecule in air are we needing?
Oxygen.
Yes, thank you. We need oxygen. Okay, so when we're breathing in, the reason why we had to increase our breathing rates because we needed that oxygen from the air, right? Now, what is your body doing with that oxygen? So why do we need that oxygen in our body for number three? So we know that we need it for workout. We need it for physical activity. So what exactly is the oxygen being used for? It makes what? So if I go back a second, right? So notice the arrow. The arrow is pointing this direction. So we breathe in oxygen, and there's something on this side that we need for the workout. What is it on this side that we need for the workout? Is it the carbon dioxide, the water, or the ATP? Not what I want to do. Okay, so we took in the oxygen from increasing our breathing because we want this. We actually need that ATP. This is what we needed in order to move. We moved our muscles, we pumped our heart, we had to breathe, right? Everything that we just did to increase that breathing rate was to make more of this right here. So ATP equals energy. So the whole reason why we took in oxygen. Okay, so we know this first part of four. The first part of four is what gas do you breathe in? So that was oxygen. So what gas do you breathe out? So every time you breathe out, right? What's coming out?
Carbon dioxide.
Yes, carbon dioxide, CO2. We also breathe out water vapor, so that could be considered a gas as well, H2O, like a four. Uh, so five, how does your body use oxygen to make energy? Again, we're going to be using the oxygen for ATP, but two questions with this one. What else is being used with oxygen? And then where is it taking place? Anybody remember? So what else do you need besides oxygen to get energy? We'll go back to this formula. Again, this arrow is important. We look at this arrow. So everything before the arrow is what's being used. So we know that we breathed in the oxygen. What was this? You remember what C6H12O6 is? Okay, so that is the formula for glucose. But another way you can say it is you need food, right? So glucose is acquired when you eat. You can also use fat. You can also use protein. So besides the oxygen, you also need some sort of food molecule in order to get energy. And that's why we have to eat to get our energy. Now, again, you need food. And then where does it take place? What is that powerhouse of the cell called? So this guy here, remember what it's called?
Mitochondria.
Good, the mitochondria. So that's what you need. In order to get oxygen and use oxygen, you need food, and you also need the mitochondria to break down the food plus the oxygen. So we do mitochondria. So the breathing at resting rate, how's it differ from the breathing after exercise? Again, we noticed that it was increased, right? So why is your resting rate much lower? Okay, so we know that the physical rate was higher because we were in need of energy. So would it make sense that the resting rate is lower because we don't really need the energy at the time? Does that make sense? So if you're not in the need of energy, you don't really need that much oxygen, but we're still having to breathe because we need a little bit of energy. Okay, how about this one, number 7? What we just did was cellular respiration or aerobic respiration. How does that one differ from fermentation? So there's one big difference here. So with fermentation, that means no oxygen. Over here with cellular respiration, that means with oxygen. Okay, why does fermentation happen when oxygen is not available? Okay, so this means if oxygen is not available, we don't just cease to exist, right? We just don't automatically kill over and die. We do have a little bit of a recovery if we can swap over and make some energy without oxygen. This is why if you're doing very rigorous or very fast exercising, you can swap over and do fermentation a little bit because you're not getting oxygen in your body fast enough for you to get energy. So you have the ability to swap between the two if you don't have any oxygen because it's a fail safe, basically. So did everyone have the same increase? Why or why not? It looks like I doubled, Hani doubled, Nayaka increased a lot, Duraka increased a lot. Enda increased a lot, and no Noel, he about tripled. So the we don't all have the same increase in numbers, right? So I only doubled. Several of you like even quadrupled, looks like tripled, quadrupled. Um, and if you go back to size, right? I'm probably the biggest one here. So I have really big lungs. So I can breathe in more. When I take in a deep breath, my lungs are bigger. I can put in more air in my body. Look at Nayaka, who is much smaller than me. His lungs are much smaller than my lungs are. So he has to breathe in a whole lot more in order to get oxygen into his body fast enough. That would and so also with Daraka, you're also smaller than me, so you're having to breathe in much faster and even more in order to get the oxygen in your body because your lungs are smaller. That make sense? Noel, you seem like a pretty uh large child compared to everybody else in the room. So again, your lungs are probably much bigger than uh Nyaka's and Daraka's. So if you exercise for 5 minutes instead of 1 minute, what do you think would happen to your breathing rate? So if you kept going instead of for 1 minute, you increased it up to 5 minutes. Do you think it would continue to increase or would it go back down? Yes, it would continue to increase. Um, to the point where if you can't keep up and if you're in need of oxygen, your body would tell you to stop, right? This would be like um, fatigue. So if you feel fatigued, that means your body's not getting enough oxygen, and your body, like your mind, tells you to stop what you're doing because you can't go on anymore. It's in the fail safe. Any questions? Let me stop the recording.